Missy Macon, a 26-year-old convenience store clerk in Ragland, Alabama, was tragically murdered on May 27, 1985. Her death marked the first murder in her small town in 25 years, which shocked the close-knit community. On that evening, Missy had been working the night shift at Cupboard 7-Eleven, a job she had taken to help pay bills and possibly expand her family. Around 9:30 p.m., a customer discovered her body behind a stack of beer cases. There was no sign of a struggle. She had been shot in the back of the head while cleaning a nacho oven, suggesting she was taken by surprise. The cash register had been emptied, though reports vary on the exact amount stolen, ranging from $260 to $800. 3 local teenagers, Casey Moore, 17, Scott Davis, 17, and Chris White, 14, were later arrested in connection with the crime. The trio had been playing a role-playing game called Top Secret, which simulates espionage missions. They reportedly decided to rob the store as part of their game, with Moore carrying out the fatal shooting. The boys fled to Florida after the murder and were apprehended at a welcome center. The case drew national attention, partly due to the sensational link made between the crime and role-playing games. Some media outlets and commentators suggested that the game had influenced the teenagers' actions, though this connection was later widely discredited. Casey Moore was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Scott Davis, who had been in the getaway car, was also convicted and received a life sentence. Chris White, the youngest of the group, pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. On August 11, 2024, 45-year-old Ryan Borgwart went out for a relaxing kayaking trip on the Green Lake in Wisconsin. He sent a text to his wife stating he was headed to shore. However, he didn't return as planned and his kayak was found overturned. After an extensive search for Ryan, he was presumed to have drowned. His family was left heartbroken. However, that's not exactly what happened. Ryan orchestrated a plan to fake his own death. He staged a drowning by overturning his kayak, discarding his phone, and paddling to shore in an inflatable boat. Ryan then rode an electric bike to Madison, Wisconsin, boarded a bus to Detroit, crossed into Canada, and flew to Eastern Europe, specifically Georgia. Authorities discovered his plan through digital evidence, including a life insurance policy he had taken out earlier in the year, communications with a woman in Uzbekistan, and the use of a new passport. In November 2024, Borgwart sent a video confirming he was alive and well, though his exact location remained undisclosed. After returning to the United States in December 2024, Borgwart was charged with obstructing an officer and faced potential restitution for the costly search operation. His wife filed for divorce, citing the marriage as irretrievably broken. Ryan is currently awaiting trial and, if convicted, he faces a maximum penalty of 9 months in jail and a $10,000 fine. In February 2020, Jorge Torres Jr., 42, and his girlfriend Sarah Boone from Winter Park, Florida, were reportedly playing a game of hide-and-seek while intoxicated. Boone claimed that Torres voluntarily climbed into a suitcase, which she then zipped closed. She recorded videos showing Torres pleading for help and gasping for air inside the suitcase, while she laughed and taunted him. The video you are about to see is extremely disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Sarah.
Stupid.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it up.
Sarah. I can't fucking breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do when you choke me.
Sarah. 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 Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
It's on you.
Sarah.
Reel around some. Might want to get video for it extra. Because I got this.
Sarah.
Reel around some.
Sarah. Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you ching on me.
Sarah.
Fuck
I
you.
can't fucking breathe, Sarah.
Yeah. You should probably shut the fuck up.
Sarah.
Shh.
Boone was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. During her trial, she asserted that she had been a victim of domestic abuse by Torres and claimed she acted in self-defense. However, the prosecution presented evidence, including the videos, showing Boone's lack of remorse and her active participation in the events leading to Torres's death. In October 2024, a jury found Boone guilty of second-degree murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on December 2, 2024. Following her sentencing, Boone sent a 27-page letter to Judge Michael Kranick, criticizing the judicial process and expressing resentment toward various parties involved in her case. She accused Torres of abuse and lamented her situation, stating, "I didn't lose." Torres's family expressed profound grief over his death. His mother and daughter delivered emotional victim impact statements during the sentencing, describing the deep pain and lasting effects of his loss on their lives. Lauren Dickinson, a South African-born doctor, was sentenced to 18 years in prison for the 2021 murders of her 3 young daughters, 6-year-old Leanne and 2-year-old twins Maya and Carla in Timaru, New Zealand. Although this is not an excuse for her disgusting behavior, it should be noted that Dickinson had a history of mental health issues, including depression and anxiety, dating back to her teenage years. She underwent 17 rounds of IVF to conceive her children and experienced postnatal depression following their births. In the months leading up to the murders, Dickinson's mental health deteriorated, leading her to experience delusions and homicidal thoughts, which she did not disclose due to fear of affecting their immigration plans. On September 16, 2021, just 5 days after arriving in New Zealand, Dickinson smothered her daughters while her husband, Graham, was out to dinner. She gathered her 3 children in a bedroom, told them they were going to make necklaces with cable ties, and tricked them into wearing the ties around their necks. Then she strangled them. Graham discovered their bodies upon returning home. Dickinson admitted to the killings but claimed she was suffering from major depressive disorder, which impaired her ability to understand the nature of her actions. In August 2023, a jury found Dickinson guilty of 3 counts of murder, rejecting her defenses of insanity and infanticide. The jury concluded that she acted methodically and purposefully, not under the influence of psychosis. At her sentencing on June 26, 2024, Justice Cameron Mander acknowledged that Dickinson's mental illness significantly reduced her moral culpability. He sentenced her to 18 years in prison without a minimum non-parole period, noting that imposing a life sentence would be manifestly unjust. Dickinson will serve her sentence at Hillmorton Hospital until she is deemed fit for a standard prison environment. Greg Everett Wells was a 31-year-old pizza delivery driver who was tragically murdered on January 6, 2002, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. After delivering an order to an apartment, he was bludgeoned to death and had his throat cut. The brutality of the attack shocked the community and led to an intensive investigation. Within days, police apprehended 17-year-old David James Keegan and 20-year-old Brandy Renee Bird, who lived at the apartment where the crime occurred. Keegan and Bird planned to rob Wells during the delivery. Bird hid in a utility closet, ambushing Wells when he entered. She struck him 10 to 12 times in the head with a claw hammer. Keegan then attempted to smother Wells with a pillow, and when that failed, he slit Wells' throat with a butcher knife. Wells died from multiple blunt force injuries and the throat laceration. The murder was particularly shocking as it was Marion's first in 5 years. What truly disturbed the community was the lack of remorse displayed by the suspects. Their indifference to the violence and the senselessness of the crime left a lasting impact on those who followed the case. Keegan was convicted of first-degree murder and second-degree robbery. Bird was also convicted of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Initially, Keegan was sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. However, following a 2012 U.S. Supreme Court ruling that banned life sentences without parole for juvenile offenders, Keegan's sentence was revisited. In 2016, he was resentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. At his resentencing, Keegan admitted to his crime, expressed remorse, and acknowledged his previous attempts to minimize his role. On the morning of July 17, 2022, Shanita Lewis attended Sunday service at Gethsemane Baptist Church in Newport News, Virginia, where she was an active member and church clerk. Later that morning, around 9:34 a.m., her children saw her in a heated argument with her husband, Adrian Salvatore Lewis, in the driveway of their home. The two left together in Adrian's 2014 Chevrolet Silverado. Just 6 minutes later, surveillance footage captured Adrian in a Little Caesars parking lot, wiping down the inside of the passenger door. The video also showed what appeared to be Shanita's legs, unmoving, in the passenger seat. According to Shanita's sister, Deidre Ure, the couple had been experiencing ongoing marital issues. Adrian had frequently accused Shanita of infidelity, claims she denied. Multiple witnesses reported that Adrian had threatened her life on more than one occasion. He also reportedly admitted to a friend that he was being unfaithful himself and, when challenged about it, allegedly responded, "I'm from the street and I handle things the street way." On July 5th, Shanita had told Adrian she wanted a divorce. Just days later, on July 14th, Adrian threatened suicide. Concerned for their safety, Shanita removed firearms from the home and took her children to Deidre's house. In the early hours of July 17th, Shanita and Adrian went to retrieve their children from Deidre's home. Later that morning, around 9:40 a.m., Adrian called Deidre, accusing Shanita of cheating. At noon, he called again, claiming Shanita had jumped out of his truck near a Wawa gas station on Jefferson Avenue. However, security footage from that area did not support his story. After that call, Deidre was unable to reach Shanita by phone. Though she received texts, she never spoke to her directly again. Authorities later determined Adrian likely had control of Shanita's phone. She had told a friend that he had cloned her phone, meaning he had copied its data to monitor her activity. Later that afternoon, at 3:45 p.m., Deidre spotted Adrian's truck parked near a dumpster in the 6200 block of Jefferson Avenue. She stopped and saw Adrian discarding items in the dumpster. Police recovered several personal belongings from the scene, including a dirty shovel, Shanita's purse and sandals, documents, and a blanket with what appeared to be a handprint. Shortly afterward, Adrian arranged for his truck to be professionally detailed and purchased a one-way ticket to Montego Bay, Jamaica. On July 18th, he was detained at Washington Dulles International Airport at 4:15 in the morning. Authorities found Shanita's passport and credit cards in his luggage. He had recently searched online to find out whether Jamaica had an extradition treaty with the U.S. Despite the detailing, police found a significant amount of blood in the truck's passenger seat. Adrian claimed it belonged to a dog that had been shot by a neighbor, yet both dogs were alive and uninjured. DNA testing confirmed the blood was Shanita's. A bullet casing was also discovered in the truck. Searches of Adrian's phone revealed troubling history, including online queries about gunshot wounds to the head and legal penalties for murder in Virginia. He also contacted a friend, said Shanita had admitted to cheating, and asked the friend to look after his sons because he was planning to flee to Mexico. Shanita's phone was never recovered. Prior to her disappearance, she frequently made over 100 calls a day. After July 17th, all activity ceased. Adrienne Lewis was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. In September 2023, following a brief jury deliberation, he was convicted of first-degree murder, but acquitted of the firearm charge due to the lack of a body and thus no confirmed cause of death. In January 2024, he was sentenced to life in prison. The court also ordered that he have no contact with his children until they reach adulthood, and no uninvited contact thereafter. Shanita Lewis, a devoted mother of 2 teenage sons, had been married for 17 years at the time of her disappearance. Her case remains unresolved due to the absence of her remains.